Hi, I'm Chris Vinnicombe and welcome to episode 4 of The Gear Show, your monthly helping of guitar goodness from the people behind Guitarist, Total Guitar and Guitar Techniques magazines and musicradar.com. This month we've got an exclusive acoustic performance and conversation from rootsy American singer-songwriter Willie Watson. In Total Guitar's 90-second review we check out the L2D Ben Weinman signature model. We go in-store with GAK in Brighton. We check out Nuno Bettencourt's live rig and do a comparison test of contemporary wah-wah pedals and much more. First up, here's a look at 4 beautiful semis from Gibson Memphis. Hi, this is Chris from Guitarist and I'm here with 4 beautiful semis from Gibson Memphis. The 59 ES330, the 63 335, the 64 345 and the small-bodied ES390. The 63 ES335 has a maple centre block and period-correct small block inlays. It's been treated to Gibson's tasteful VOS aging process, and the neck shape, while a little fatter than a 61, isn't quite as chunky as the full 59. The 64 ES345 is a very similar guitar to the 335, although you do get split parallelogram inlays and a varitone switch. Both guitars also feature nylon bridge saddles. Unlike the 335 and the 345, the 59 330's neck joins the body at the 16th fret, it's fully hollow and it features a pair of P90 pickups. The fully hollow but small-bodied ES390 is very much a scaled-down 330, although unlike the other 3 guitars in this roundup, it features a gloss finish. I think in this incarnation Gibson have just got everything right. In many ways it's the ultimate production 335 that's around today. The small block inlays, the VOS aging, it just feels really familiar straight out of the case, and it just ticks all the boxes for me. I think physically the guitars are quite different, even though superficially they're very similar. It's definitely a heavier weight, there's a slightly deeper neck, and tonally as well there's a little bit more fatness and a little bit more punch. So it's definitely a subtly different voice, and it's a valid instrument in its own right. I think the varitone is quite useful in the context of a studio where you're trying to voice lead parts perhaps to sit in certain places in the mix, but I'm not sure that it's something that I would use that much on stage. The 330 to me, it feels very different. Obviously it's a fully hollow guitar, it's much more resonant and much more alive now. It kind of feels more like an acoustic to play in some ways, and while it's a little bit scary at volume because you do have that additional edge of feedback, there's just something really alive about this instrument that's fantastic to play. I mean, upper fret access is harder, but it kind of changes the vocabulary of what you play, and I'm instantly inclined to go for more of a sort of 60s sort of pop vocabulary, early Stones and things like that. Okay, so obviously a lot of players do find full-size 330, full-size 335 somewhat unwieldy. For someone 6'2" like myself, it's not really a concern. But if you want the fully hollow P90 330 experience in a smaller package, then this certainly delivers. We found the pickups in this particular example a little microphonic for high gain use, but if you're after a great all-rounder for beautiful, shiny, clean tones and kind of 60s pop, then this is it. So you've heard all four instruments in action through a cranked Swart AST combo loaded with 6v6 valves. Obviously, semis and hollow bodies handle volume very differently, so let's see how each of these instruments reacts.
Okay, so we've moved over to a different amp, the Victory V30 Countess, to show you the cleaner tones that these guitars can produce. And the reason for that is that the Victory has 606 valves in the power stage, and it's kind of capable of throwing a more kind of well-defined note, if you like. And the reason we wanted to show you that is because the great thing about semis is not only are they great at raucous kind of hairy fuzz, but they're also, you know, guitars like the 335 I'm holding are really great at this very vocal sounding, liquid kind of voice that they can produce, and they really stand up to quite an exposed clean tone and still sound warm and interesting. So the nice thing about the 335, and one of the reasons it's become such an enduring classic, is that there's tremendous sweetness and kind of width to its tone, and yet it's more focused than the voice of the 330. And one of the reasons for that is that it's got a centre block, which obviously kind of immobilises the top a bit more, makes it less prone to feedback, and also makes the tone a little bit more focused. This particular example of the 335 doesn't have the ultra slim early 60s neck, which can feel like a lollipop stick, almost anachronistic when you sort of play one of those ones. It's a little bit thicker than that, so to a modern hand, if you like, it feels very natural and not too full, but there's obviously enough mass there to give some clout to the tone. So this is a really, really nice example of the breed, if you like. Okay, so this is the ES345. It's very similar to the 335, but there are one or two features that differ. You've got the parallelogram inlays and the kind of generally more blingy kind of gold hardware, and you've also got the Veritone, and Veritone is quite an interesting thing, really. You might find a use for it. I suspect most people will leave it on the normal setting, if you like, because what happens when you adjust it is this. So this is it on position 1, which you might think of as your standard voice. So, as you can hear, it makes your tone get thinner and thinner, and that might actually be useful for certain scenarios, but I suspect most people are going to leave it full on. The 345 was the most smoky and kind of dark sounding of the guitars that we've tried here today. And there's something really special about that. It's got definite mojo. It's probably not for all tastes, but if you're that kind of, smokestack lightning kind of blues player, it's great. So it's interesting to note, I mean, probably another 345 would sound different again because there are slight variances between individual instruments anyway, but as it happens, this has come out as the kind of dark horse of our selection. So fully hollow Gibson electrics with P90s like this ES330 are kind of the forgotten classic benchmark of tone, if you like, because if you think back, players like Chuck Berry and Scotty Moore recorded an awful lot of real landmark recordings with these guitars. So while some people might think of the 330 as like a sort of little brother to the 335, it's got a character all of its own that is a very special character. I mean, something airy and woody about its tone that you don't get with a centre block guitar. Like sort of, if I sort of show you, it's. It's just got a little bit more fur around the edges of it, and I think you can sort of hear that on, early 50s recordings. And if you've any love for that sort of retro tone, you should probably try one of these. I think we get very used to kind of lazily saying, "Oh yeah, it's not got a centre block, so that's probably going to, feedback dreadfully." But as we've seen today, the feedback from a non-centre block guitar can be very musical. I mean, it's this great sort of tsunami of barely restrained tone, and it can sound really good. And at times it's a little bit like, if you can imagine like a bunch of guys holding down a balloon with guy ropes and there's only just about enough of them to keep it from lifting them off the floor. It's a little bit like that. It's quite lively and it will go if you let it. But I think that's an extra dimension. You could view that as an extra dimension to your sound rather than as a potential pitfall. The only thing about this 330 that might not appeal to kind of fusion players is the upper fret sort of access. So if you're into doing those massive cascading one end of the fretboard to the other type licks, where this joins is a little bit restrictive. But I mean, I think that the advantages of this guitar definitely more than make up for little things like that. So this is the ES390, and what you're looking at is basically like a 330 that's been adapted for speed. It's smaller of body, which is kind of because some people find the kind of 335, 330 body size a little bit unwieldy. I can't say I ever have, but this is definitely something that you could kind of sling about a little bit more on stage. It retains the fully hollow body, and of all the guitars we play today, it's probably the slinkiest to play. It's really a nice fast playing guitar, and the neck joins the body at the 19th fret, so upper fret access is actually a lot better than on the 330 as well, so it's really nice to play. So in terms of tone, there's possibly a little bit less depth and a little bit less width than the 330 has, but what you get in return is tremendous playability, ease of handling, and this particular model is quite a bit cheaper than the other guitars we've got on test because it's not got the VOS treatment, and so that probably puts it in range of more people's pockets.
Americana singer-songwriter Willie Watson is fast becoming an office favourite. Here he is with an exclusive acoustic performance.
on the banks of the river, where the willows hang down, and the wild birds are warble with a low moaning sound. Way down in the hollow, where the water runs cold, that's where I first listened to the lies that you told. Now I lie on my bed and I see your sweet face, and the past I remember, time cannot erase, and the letter you wrote me was written in shame. And I know that your conscience still echoes my name. Now the nights are so long, and sorrow runs deep, and nothing is worse than a night without sleep. I'll walk out alone and look at the sky, too empty to sing, too lonesome to cry. So if you ladies were blackbirds, if you ladies were thrushes, I'd lie there for hours in the cold, chilly marshes. If you ladies were squirrels with high bushy tails, I'd fill up my shotgun with rock salt and nails. It's a Laravel OM1. As far as I know, they're a Canadian company, but they make them in Oxnard, California these days. This is the second OM I've ever had. I started out with a OM3, but then I found this a few years later, and I thought it sort of blew the 3 away. Apparently, the OM1s are only supposed to go to Japan, but a guitar store in Nashville, Tennessee, had one by chance, and I just sort of wandered in there, and it was sitting on the shelf, and I picked it up and loved it. So I was already into the Laravel OM thing. So yeah, I've been playing this. I've had this about, I think I got this in 04 or something, 04 or 05, and been playing it ever since. Wearing a little hole in it. It comes with like a little clear pick guard, which I thought was kind of silly, so I ripped it off. The only thing I don't like about the hole is that my name's Willie, and that the other Willie out there is the guy with the hole in his guitar. So he'll just have to deal with that, I guess. Yeah, you know, it's kind of the only guitar I've played for years now, so it's kind of the only guitar I know how to play. I don't know. Sounds like this. I'm not crazy about pickups. I used to play with a pickup when I used to play in a band, and I had a LR Baggs M1 in there. I still got the jack actually in there, and it's just like a sound hole pickup with like an extension that went down into the body, and that was a pretty good sounding pickup. I would plug that in through a radial tone bone acoustic preamp, and for a big, huge show with thousands of screaming Old Crow fans, that was the way to go. But nowadays, it's just all microphones. Shure SM57 does the trick. Yeah, it's kind of it's what my ears are used to. If you change it up on me, it might freak me out.
It's time to head over to GAK in Brighton and find out what's in store.
Hi, it's Mark from gak.co.uk, and I'm here today in our Brighton store with Matt, who is showing us what's hot in the store this month. Matt, it looks like you've got a Strat for us. What have you got?
Yes, this is the Custom Shop 1963 John Cruise Master Design. Now, I see a lot of custom shops, and you know, they're all great guitars, but every so often one is just a little bit of a cut above the rest, and this one is just amazing. John Cruise being one of the most legendary master builders that Fender have ever had. He builds Jeff Beck's and Eric Clapton's personal guitars, and he's basically taken a 63 Strat and kind of made a few tweaks that make it, in a sense, a little bit more modern, a little bit more lively, adds a bit more tone in. And yeah, so you've got a two-piece holder body and a maple neck. You've got a laminate rosewood board, which is kind of time period correct. Redesigned pickups, slightly hotter. You've got a little bit more bottom end and a little bit more mid-range. And you've changed the wiring as well. So rather than having a tone control for middle and a tone control for bridge, you've got a master volume and a master tone, which makes it a little bit more giggable, or gig friendly, I suppose. But what the second control does is, in the first or fifth positions, blends in the opposite pickup, so you can have neck and bridge on at the same time. And in the 2 and 4 positions, it blends either of them in again, so you can have all three. So you get some usable options without kind of having S1 switching or anything like that. A couple of other nice adjustments. Brass tone block on there, so makes it a little bit more lively, gives you a little bit more top end, gives you a lot more sustain, so that's, you know, really nice. And a 12-inch radius fingerboard, so a lot more of a modern style fingerboard, much flatter, so you can get the action much lower, and you know, it just gives it a little bit more modern feel. But just tonally, just the resonance of this instrument is just incredible.
And for people who, I guess we get a lot of people come in and say, you know, why should I upgrade from, you know, American Standard, for example, and go up to something like a custom shop guitar? This guitar really tells that story, doesn't it?
Yes, 100%. I mean,
such a huge jump from just a normal American Standard.
I mean, you get a great guitar with an American Standard, but it's the extra little bit of thought, process that goes into each design of a custom shop that kind of makes it so unique and so different. And you know, they've obviously gone, well, you know, 63 Strat. You know, what can we do? What would I like? You know, and I suppose that's the joy of probably being a master builder, is you can kind of spec up what you want. And he's obviously gone, well, you know, brass makes a difference in the tone block. You know, we'd rather just have a master tone, but we don't want all the fancy switching or any active electronics. And 12-inch radius, you know, going for that much flatter feel on the board makes a really big difference to playability.
Definitely. Well, let's get it plugged in. We'll give it a listen, and you can hear it for yourselves.
Here's Darran Charles from Godsticks with the PRS Archon head and the Vigier Excalibur 13.
Hi, I'm Darran from Godsticks, and I've been invited by Guitarist magazine to try out a Vigier Excalibur 13 and a PRS Archon head. This was the first time I played a Vigier. I've heard a lot about their innovations, including the fact that they've replaced the truss rod with a carbon reinforcement bar. This results in an extremely straight neck, and I think the lack of a truss rod would appeal to a lot of guitarists. The pickups, I found them to be quite powerful, but never lacking in character. They drove the amp quite well. One of the things that impressed me most was the trem system. As I'm not really a user of double locking trem systems because of the associated hassles, so it's always difficult to find a guitar where abuse of the trem doesn't result in the guitar going completely out of tune. The design of this guitar is quite sleek, as you would expect from a Super Strat type guitar, but I know that Vigier go to quite some lengths to ensure that the guitar is perfectly balanced. So when strapped on, it's extremely comfortable, and even when sat down. Whilst there's a lot of competition for metal amps, especially at this price point, I think this PRS offers something quite unique. Upon plugging it in, using it on the bridge pickup of the Vigier, it delivers an extremely throaty sound, very tight bottom end. Although PRS's foray into the amp market hasn't been as monumentally successful as their guitars, I think this amp is strictly aimed at metal players and may actually buck that trend.
I'm Sam McTrusty from a band called Twin Atlantic, and today I'm going to introduce you and everyone else to my favourite guitar of the moment, which is this Gretsch White Panther. It's unusual. I didn't think there would ever be a guitar that would sway me from a Fender Telecaster, because that had always been my sort of go-to guitar for songwriting and for live and for studio use. But this came along and surprised me in a way that it almost altered even the way that I play guitar and the way I think about even the makeups of the notes and the relationships of chords and stuff like that. It came to me through firstly being quite spoiled. I'm very lucky and I've got an endorsement with the people at Gretsch, and I think even before the guitar was released for sale in the UK, I managed to get a hold of this guitar. I guess Gretsch were experimenting with the centre block idea in their hollow body guitars so that bands like ourselves could use exceptional degrees of gain and volume and it not feed back on stage. So yeah, that was the real reason why I wanted to try it. It was something I'd always thought that I didn't really have the use of live, was like a hollow body, thicker, creamier tone. But this guitar, especially when it's on the bridge pickup, surprisingly really bright for a Gretsch, and it's become nearly my main guitar for live, which is crazy because I've got like maybe 7 Telecasters, but only one of these. It came to me about kind of halfway through the writing period of our new record, Great Divide, and I started spending a bit of time in Canada instead of back home in Scotland, just to sort of take myself out of my comfort zone and make things kind of fresh again for me. But this kind of came everywhere with me, and I wrote quite a lot of songs on it. Heart and Soul, a song called Hold On. I mean, pretty much every song on the records had some sort of writing done on this particular guitar, and I'm not really sure why I don't know why I fell in love with it so instantly. I think obviously it looks incredible. I think any guitar sort of porn fanatics out there will be enjoying looking at it. It's interesting that I'm getting away with the Bigsby on it because my main issue with playing is knocking guitars out of tune, but it really, really holds its tuning really well, which surprised me with this on it. It's strange how powerful it can sound as well as being really delicate, so if there's anyone that's sort of questioning the fact that this sort of guitar works in like a heavier rock band, there's your answer. I'm trying to think of what else I can tell you about it. It feels like a guitar that's a sort of turning point for me, which is interesting because our record's called Great Divide, but it came along at the same time where that was happening to our band and happening to me as a person, and that's probably why it feels like a slightly more special relationship that I've got with it, wherein that, to sound like a cliched, cheesy fool, it sort of helped me through my transition as a musician and a songwriter from being, grasping onto my childhood to kind of fully accepting that it was time to become a man, and that's probably why I'm getting away with it, I think. So the Gretsch White Panther is, for now, my favourite guitar.
Next up, in Total Guitar's 90-second review, we check out Dillinger Escape Plan star Ben Weinman's LTD signature guitar.
This is the LTD BW1 FM-ET, the signature model for Dillinger Escape Plan guitarist Ben Weinman. Like his band's music, the BW1 is an extremely varied affair, with a semi-hollow body, Evertune bridge and active EMG humbuckers. The Evertune bridge is the most attention-grabbing spec here, and keeps your guitar in tune no matter how big your bends, or how cold your rehearsal space. Instead of altering the guitar's tuning, the machine head set the Evertune's bend sensitivity. It can seem a bit alien at first. You can even set it so there's no bend at all. You soon get used to it though. The semi-hollow design isn't as bright as you'd expect unplugged, but the airy resonance combined with the active EMG 85 and 81 humbuckers makes for a tonally well-balanced guitar, which can handle just about any style, from jazz to full-on metal. And, of course, Ben Weinman-esque grippery. We're struggling to find fault with the BW1. It's a great example of a signature model that delivers the diversity and personality of the player who inspired and helped to design it. Fortunately for us, it seems Ben Weinman is something of a mastermind in that department.
Hi, it's Mark from gak.co.uk, and once again I'm in our Brighton store, and once again I'm with Matt, who's going to talk about his favourite pedal of the month. Matt, what you got for us?
I've got the new Pigtronix Rototron, which we've waited absolutely ages for. I think they've been tweaking the design somewhat. It was announced at NAMM, I think, earlier, right at the beginning of the year, and it's Pigtronix's take on a classic Leslie speaker, and it's just done absolutely superbly. So you've got stereo in, and stereo out, which is really nice, so you can get a proper panning effect. But it's the overall control you've got with expression. So you've got a normal depth, and then your ramp, which goes between your slow and your fast beats, and then you've got your overall slow and fast beat for each one. But it's the fact that on the top here you've got an extra control for brake, because the original ones had a brake control. So rather than actually speeding up or slowing down, you hit a button and it jammed the motor effectively and shut it off completely. But you've also got expression for the high and low rotor controls, which are the independent horns, so you can actually control those separately, and it runs on 18 volt for kind of maximum headroom. But it's nice because, like the speakers, it gives you a slightly different, it actually changes your tone, you know, because you were running into an amp. So it kind of gives you a little bit more bottom end, it gives you a real fat sort of warmth, and it's just nice. It's not too overwhelming like a phaser or a flanger can be. It kind of sits in the mix quite nicely. And it works for recording as well, and with drives, and it's just a really nice little unit.
Having heard it, what I like about it is that it will go from almost modulation-y type effects like a chorus or a flanger, but obviously less intrusive, right up to your full-on kind of like, White Album, Abbey Road style Beatles, Leslie sound.
I think that's the great thing on really slow speeds and with a lower depth. You can just leave it on all the time, and it kind of just changes your tone and just gives you, if you were doing stereo takes, and you can use that as an sound. But Harrison through and through with something like that as well.
Definitely. All right, well, let's get it plugged in. We'll give it a listen, and you can see what you think.
Next up, Michael Brown goes down to Funky Town with a range of new wah-wah pedals.
Hi, it's Michael from Guitarist, and we're here with 6 wahs that run the gamut of features and tones. In this demo, we'll show you a range of clean and dirty sounds as well as a full sweep from each pedal. We're playing a PRS S2 Custom 22 semi-hollow into a Vox AC15.
Nuno Bettencourt made his name in Extreme and is the guitar sideman for Rihanna. Let's check out the gear that he takes on the road.
Hey, this is Nuno Bettencourt of Extreme, and I guess we're here today to talk about my gear. First off, this is the guitar that I'm using on the tour we're doing right now. It's an N4. It's a Washburn N4 that I've been playing for 300 years now. And this one specifically is a little bit different for the tour because it's a carbon fiber fretboard. It's a little bit of cheating, I guess. It's a little bit faster. It's a little bit of sacrifice tonally because it's not as fat as my usual fretboards, but it's got a nice little feel to it and just different. So I thought I'd spice things up a bit by using that. Other than that, the N4 is the N4. It's always been the same pickups, the Bill Lawrence pickups, one volume knob, switch over here to not get in the way. It always gets in the way because I play a lot of rhythm right hand stuff, and knobs that I usually placed on guitars are always in my way and drive me up a wall. And that's it. Floyd Rose, drop D tuner, and you can slice and dice meatballs on it because it's wood. There you go. Guitar-wise, I use for backups on the tour. They're pretty much, one of them is an original N4 that came out early 90s. I use that not so much of as a spare, but just for a fatter tone for the porn graffiti stuff. I think I have a white one with me as well. That's definitely a backup for both of them at this point. I'm using a 6-string solid body 6-string that I'm using for Midnight Express and More Than Words as an acoustic because for Midnight Express especially, it's a little bit faster and it's what I wrote Midnight on and what I recorded Midnight on. So I just wanted to use the same guitar. 12-string acoustic, Washburn. It's actually one of my favorite guitars. It's really nice. It's a big fat body and sweet little tone for all the 12-string stuff. Wholehearted, obviously. I think that's it for guitars that I have. The pedal board that I'm using, I'm not much on effects anyways. So with Extreme, it's always been about real it's a minimalistic approach. Even though it's a multi-effects unit. Really, I use 4 patches for probably 99% of the songs, and it's just for like a plain one, a little bit of chorus on another one for all the choruses and hooks that I play on, and then a 3rd patch is like a solo boost, more for the volume and adding delay for the solos. The 4th one is always a flanger that I have on there to go to just for vibe when I feel like it. But that's basically, other than a few delay changes, that's it. It's a Boss octave pedal. I use it for a few songs. I don't know if we're doing anything as of now that we're using songs like Comfortably Dumb, stuff off the side. Certain songs I would use it for whatever if the songs were written that way. Other than that, it's just a noise gate, and I think that's it. I was just kind of like, I've never done a signature amp, and I was messing around with a friend in Australia, and I don't know shit about electronics, but he does, and we started messing with stuff, and it was more for fun, and then we A-B'd it to some other amps that I do like. And I was like, wow, I'm really, really enjoying this, you know, and so, you know, Randall works with Washburn and under the same umbrella, so we decided to go for it. And there it is. And aesthetically, I just wanted it to look like I wanted it to look. You know, what I always thought the coolest amp in the world would look. You know, big master volume knob. The VU meter helps me see what's going on with the amp, where the sweet spot is, where I like it, volume-wise, where it sounds the best. And if something goes wrong with the tube, it kind of like diminishes that output as well. So I know when something's up with it. It's just, you know, like the guitar, it's just a workhorse amp. It's nothing fancy.
I see you've got independent channel EQ on it as well. Is that something that you use
clean channel, and then just obviously the distorted channel, and then just a boost for the solo. Yeah. I always used the Rat pedal back in the day, but I actually put that's sort of what it did initially. Instead of having it as an outboard piece, it's kind of in the input of the my amp now. It just tightens up the bottom end, something like that. But if I don't use the Randall and I use a Marshall or something, I always have to have the Rat in front. So it was a quirky part of my, you know. Yeah, look, you know, I think shit gets in the way, you know. Too much shit gets in the way. The majority, 90% of when you hear me play, there is nothing going on. I mean, really, even on the effects-wise, it's a channel that's dead with no effects. And at the end of the day, it's in your fingers. All this stuff helps get you through what you want to do. But like I said, I learned my lesson time ago plugging into Eddie's rig, and he asked me to play, and I couldn't wait because I thought finally I was going to sound like one of my biggest influences, and he was using his amp, his guitar. There's no excuse now. I was really disappointed when I plugged in because it sounded just like me, and I was like, aha, that's where it comes from. What a disappointment. The dream was over quickly. But that's it. That's my rig, and I'm sticking to it. You've been watching Total Guitar, and rock and roll. What can I tell you? See ya. Peace.
I'm afraid that's all we've got time for. Tune in to The Gear Show next month for more guitar goodness from the people behind Guitarist, Total Guitar and Guitar Techniques magazines, and musicradar.com.